Dark chosen ones, raise your shadow vibration to unlock quantum abilities. Have you ever asked yourself why, no matter how hard you try to stay high vibe, to stay positive, to stay in the light, there's always something pulling you back into the depths? That heaviness, that recurring emotional undercurrent, that sense that something ancient and powerful lives within you, something that refuses to be silenced by positive affirmations and New Age gloss. It's not because you're broken, it's because you're not ordinary. You're not meant to transcend the shadow. You're meant to transfigure it. And that's what makes you different. That's what makes you one of the dark chosen ones. There's a misconception in the spiritual world, a dangerous one, that shadow energy is low vibration. That to be in your rage, your grief, your lust, your fear is to vibrate at a lower frequency, to cut yourself off from the divine. But that's not truth. That's programming. The real truth, the one that gets whispered in ancient mystery schools and encoded in sacred texts, is that shadow energy is not low. It's deep. It's ancient. It is primal. And when harnessed consciously, it becomes the most potent fuel for awakening quantum abilities. Not just emotional liberation. Not just spiritual growth. I'm talking about real, tangible, reality-shifting power.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
But to access that, you have to stop trying to escape your depth. You have to stop treating your darkness like a disease to be cured. You have to stop healing in circles that only keep you trapped in loops of unworthiness masked as spirituality. This isn't about becoming light. This is about becoming whole. And wholeness means integration. It means looking into the mirror and not flinching. It means seeing your shadow not as a threat to your divinity, but as the missing half of your divinity, the key that unlocks the door to your quantum self. Let me ask you something that most won't dare to ask. What if your shame carries codes for your evolution? What if your fear is a doorway to your intuition? What if your rage is a map back to your power? And what if the very emotions you've been taught to push away are actually the gatekeepers to your multidimensional potential? You see, the elite, the initiated, the ones who bend reality and walk through this world untouched by limitation, they don't avoid their shadow. They partner with it. They raise its frequency. They don't suppress it to be spiritual, they alchemize it to become sovereign. They treat every dense emotion, every uncomfortable memory, every chaotic impulse as sacred data from their subconscious and their soul. They don't get lost in the darkness, but they enter it with awareness, with breath, with intention. And from there they emerge with gifts most people only read about in books: telepathy, psychic knowing, magnetism, time dilation, synchronicity that bends the laws of logic. But here's what they don't tell you. It doesn't happen by accident. It's not about being chosen by some external force. It's about choosing yourself. Choosing to raise the vibration of your shadow rather than suppress it. Choosing to sit with the part of you that others reject. Choosing to feel fully, deeply, wildly, and then choosing to direct that energy toward creation rather than collapse. Let's make this real. Imagine you're triggered, someone says something that cuts deep. You feel jealousy, rage, shame. Instead of spiritually bypassing with a mantra or pretending to be above it, what if you paused? What if you invited that shadow closer? What if you asked it, what truth are you trying to show me right now? And then listened not with your mind, but with your body, your breath, your nervous system. That moment, that space of presence, is where the vibration of shadow begins to change. Because vibration isn't about emotion alone. It's about relationship. Your relationship to your shadow determines its frequency. If you fear it, it becomes heavy. If you reject it, it becomes chaotic. But if you meet it with reverence, with curiosity, with love, it transforms. Its frequency rises. And when that happens, it begins to unlock, to unravel, to reveal its original form, which is not darkness, its depth, its wisdom, its power. And here's where it gets quantum. Every emotion carries a vibration, but beneath that vibration is information. When you raise the vibration of your shadow, you gain access to the information that was hidden inside it. Information about your soul's purpose, information about your intuitive gifts, information about the past lives you've lived, about the patterns you're here to break. And once you have that information, you can make choices that bend your timeline. You can shift realities. You can collapse the delay between desire and manifestation. That's not fantasy. That's quantum mechanics applied through spiritual embodiment. So the real question is not, how do I escape my shadow? The real question is, how do I raise its vibration so I can use it as a tool for liberation and creation? Because when you do that, you become unstoppable. You become magnetic. You become a walking vortex of truth. And that truth doesn't mean you're always calm or sweet or radiant in the traditional sense. It means you're real, you're whole, you're wired to command energy. This is only the beginning. Shadow Ascension, the 3-phase alchemy ritual to activate your quantum DNA. Now that you understand the truth, that your shadow isn't low, it's deep, and that raising its vibration is the key to unlocking your quantum abilities, it's time to go deeper into the how. This isn't about theory anymore. This is where we begin the work. This is where we stop intellectualizing the shadow and start transmuting it, activating it, ascending it. You are not here to just survive your darkness. You are here to rise from it, but not as who you were before, as someone reborn in the fire of your own truth. The process is not passive. It's a ritual. It's an alchemy. And it moves through 3 distinct but interwoven phases. This is the map, the system, the sacred formula that the dark chosen ones throughout time have followed, whether they realized it consciously or not. Phase 1 is descent with awareness. I want you to understand this clearly. Descent is not regression. It's not weakness. It's the conscious decision to turn inward and downward into the parts of yourself that feel heavy, chaotic, or painful. But this time you're not dissociating. You're not spiraling. You're meeting that energy with the eyes of a master. You go into the womb of your shadow not to collapse, but to retrieve, to recover the fragments of yourself that were exiled in moments of trauma, shame, or rejection. You sit in the emotion, but you don't identify with it. You hold it like a sacred guest, and you breathe. That's the first layer of raising its vibration, presence. Now, here's the key. All shadow work must be done with the body. You cannot alchemize from the mind alone. When you enter the descent, you must feel. Breathe into the emotion. Notice how it lives in your gut, your chest, your spine. Speak to it. Let it speak back. Don't rush. Stay. Listen. This is where the quantum codes begin to unlock. Because your body is not just flesh, it's a storage device for multidimensional intelligence. Trauma locks those codes. Presence releases them. You feel the grief. That's not just sadness, it's a portal. You feel the rage. That's not just anger, it's life force. You feel fear. That's not just anxiety, it's untapped intuition. All of it is sacred. All of it is waiting for you to stop running. Phase 2 is emotional transmutation. This is where the alchemy happens. Now that you've retrieved the raw material of your shadow, you begin to shift its frequency. Not by denying the feeling, but by moving it. Energy must move to evolve. So you let the emotion express through your body through sound, breath, dance, primal movement, screaming into a pillow, shaking, crying, laughing. You let it live. This is not chaos. This is ritual. This is the sacred science of embody alchemy. You are not releasing the emotion to get rid of it. You are elevating it, giving it space to become its higher form. Here's something to remember. Every emotion has a spectrum. Rage, when transmuted, becomes clarity and power. Grief becomes compassion and depth. Shame becomes sovereignty and sacred defiance. Fear becomes refined intuition. Your job is not to fix the emotion, it's to liberate it from distortion. The moment you stop seeing your shadow as a problem and begin treating it as a container of divine intelligence, your vibration shifts. And when your vibration shifts, your field shifts, your aura expands, your nervous system recalibrates, and suddenly the quantum responds not because you've healed, but because you've activated. Phase 3 is directional command. This is where most people fall short. They do the inner work, they feel better, but they stop there. But we're not here just to feel better, we're here to create reality. After you've transmuted the shadow frequency, you must command it. You must give that liberated energy a direction. This is the moment where intention becomes spell, thought becomes blueprint, desire becomes magnet. You speak your new frequency into existence. You declare your next level. You move differently. You act with the authority of someone who has walked through their own hell and returned with a crown. This isn't about manifestation in the watered-down sense. This is quantum alignment. You are now vibrating in coherence with your truth. The field responds immediately, not always in a way your ego expects, but always in a way that is aligned. Synchronicities increase. You begin to sense the future before it happens. You attract people, opportunities, and ideas that match your new frequency. Why? Because energy doesn't lie. Because you're no longer leaking your power into suppression. You've reclaimed it. You've raised the vibration of your shadow, and now it's working for you. This ritual descent with awareness, emotional transmutation, directional command is not a one-time event. It's a practice, a lifestyle, a devotion. Every time you feel triggered, you apply it. Every time life brings you something uncomfortable, you don't collapse, you create. This is what it means to be a dark chosen one. You are not here to escape the shadow. You are here to raise its frequency so high that it becomes the fuel for your divine evolution. So now, let me ask you, what would your life look like if you stopped seeing your darkness as a flaw and started treating it as a tool? What would become possible if you moved through every shadow moment with presence, power, and purpose? Are you willing to live as the alchemist, not the victim? Are you ready to stop looping and start ascending? Because your quantum DNA is not sleeping, it's waiting. Quantum warriorship, how to use elevated shadow energy to shape time, space, and probability. This is where the journey turns multidimensional. You've descended, you've transmuted, and now you stand in possession of energy most people never touch in their lifetimes. Elevated shadow energy is not just emotional resilience. It's not just healing. It's raw creative force, ancient in origin and quantum in nature. And once you've raised its vibration, it no longer just shifts your inner world, it begins to shape the very fabric of reality around you. To walk as a quantum warrior is to understand that time, space, and probability are not fixed, they're responsive. They bend to consciousness, and not just to conscious thought, but to embodied frequency. Shadow energy, once transmuted and elevated, becomes one of the most potent carriers of frequency because it's rooted in truth. Not in fantasy, not in projection, but in raw, solvable truth. And truth is what bends the matrix. You felt it before, even if you didn't have a name for it. The moments where something inside you clicked and reality shifted. The moments where you made a choice from your gut, from your power, from your pain, but with awareness, and somehow everything rearranged itself. That wasn't luck. That was mastery. That was your elevated shadow frequency commanding the field. You didn't even have to try. You just were. So let's break this down. Time is not linear, it's layered. It's a spiral. And your shadow holds echoes of past timelines where your power was taken, suppressed, or misdirected. When you transmute shadow energy, you're not just healing this life, you're collapsing timelines. You're pulling energy out of old loops and freeing it up to be used now. That's why the work feels so intense. That's why one night of deep emotional transmutation can feel like a lifetime of evolution, because energetically it is. The same applies to space. Space is not just distance, it's resonance. The room you walk into responds to your frequency. Your home holds the imprint of your energy. Your relationships are mirrors of your vibration. When you elevate your shadow, your entire spatial field begins to shift. People who were in alignment with your wounded self begin to fall away. New connections appear from nowhere. Environments that once drained you begin to feel foreign. You're not imagining it. You've changed your geometry. You're not just in the world anymore, you're shaping it. And then there's probability. This is the most subtle and most powerful layer. When your shadow frequency is dense, your field collapses around predictable outcomes. You repeat the same patterns, attract the same situations, feel stuck in the same cycles. But when you elevate your shadow, you expand your field of possibility. You create new openings in the quantum web. You begin to attract outcomes that once seemed impossible. You become a statistical anomaly, someone who shouldn't have succeeded but did. Someone who shouldn't have healed but did. Someone who shouldn't have awakened this deeply but did. This isn't magic. It's mechanics. Reality is an energetic feedback loop. You're not just reacting to it, you're co-authoring it. And when your energy is drawn from elevated shadow, it carries a weight, a depth, a clarity that nothing can fake. People feel it. Systems respond to it. The universe reorganizes for it. You begin to experience synchronicities not as random gifts, but as direct reflections of your inner state. You realize you don't chase success, love, or peace, you emit it. You pull it toward you by becoming the vibrational match, not through effort, but through identity. So how do you live this way consistently? You don't wait for life to test you. You train. You treat your everyday emotional experience as your dojo. Every trigger becomes a portal. Every conflict becomes a mirror. Every fear becomes a threshold. You move through life with a warrior's posture, not aggressive, but alert. Not defensive, but sovereign. You don't ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what power inside me is being initiated right now? Quantum warriorship is not about being fearless. It's about being fearless in your feeling. About meeting every layer of your reality with curiosity and command. You don't just survive shadow moments, you reorganize your entire timeline through them. You don't just cope with emotion, you wield it. You don't just try to manifest, you become the field from which manifestation emerges. So let me ask you, what if the shadow you've been resisting is actually the initiator of the version of you who bends time, shifts space, and reprograms probability? What would happen if you stopped trying to escape your darkness and instead wielded it like a blade of light? Because that's what you are now, a blade, a beacon, a sovereign architect of the quantum field. Not because you escaped the shadow, but because you rose through it. Dominion, living as a fully activated shadow alchemist in a world addicted to light. Now we arrive at the final threshold. You've descended into your shadow with awareness, transmuted density into power, and learned to bend time, space, and probability with elevated frequency. But what comes next is the most important and the most dangerous part of the path, because once you've awakened this level of truth, there is no going back to pretending, no returning to smallness, no more hiding in the illusion of light as purity. Now you must live it, not in moments, not in rituals, but in every breath, every choice, every interaction. You must walk this world as a fully activated shadow alchemist in a society that fears what you've become. The world is addicted to light, not real light, performative light. It idolizes surface-level positivity, polished personas, and sanitized spirituality. It rejects discomfort, demonizes chaos, and medicates the soul's natural eruptions. And here you are, holding the very thing the world told you to suppress. You carry rage transmuted into truth, grief transmuted into compassion, shame transmuted into sovereignty. You are no longer digestible. You are uncontainable. And that's exactly why you must now claim dominion over your life. Dominion means you no longer wait for permission to be what you already are. You don't ask others to validate your path. You don't shrink to fit into narratives that were never written for you. You don't perform for safety, you embody for impact. You walk into rooms with the quiet weight of someone who has faced their own underworld and returned crowned. You don't need to announce it. Your energy speaks louder than any words ever could. To live in dominion is to become the source of your own authority. It means choosing alignment over approval, depth over comfort, truth over popularity. It's knowing that most people will not understand your path and being okay with that, because you no longer need them to. You are not here to be understood. You are here to remember, to embody, and to remind. You are the one who goes first, who feels deeper, who sees more, who rebuilds the world from the inside out. But here's the challenge: the more activated you become, the more you'll reflect the unconsciousness of others. Your very existence will trigger those still hiding from their shadow. You'll be misunderstood, judged, even feared. Not because you're wrong, but because you are true, and truth disrupts illusions. You must be ready for that weight, not to carry it as a burden, but to wield it as your legacy. The key is discernment. You don't owe your energy to everyone. You don't need to explain your depth to those committed to shallow waters. Your power is sacred. Your presence is medicine. And your path is not for convincing, it's for radiating. You lead by example, not debate. By resonance, not argument. You walk as a living frequency. And those meant to rise with you, they will feel it. They will remember, because you remembered first. To live in dominion is also to stay in devotion, not to perfection but to presence. You will still feel fear. You will still encounter shadow. But now you know what to do with it. You alchemize it. You bless it. You use it. You don't fall back, you reforge. Every trigger becomes a tool. Every challenge becomes a test of embodiment. Every day becomes a ritual of power. So now I leave you with this. What would your life look like if you stopped negotiating with your power? If you stopped pausing your expansion to make others comfortable? If you fully claimed the throne that's always been waiting inside you? Because this is the moment. The world doesn't need more light chasers. It needs real ones, those who walk with both fire and grace, who hold both shadow and soul, and who live unapologetically in their full spectrum. You are one of them. You've always been. This is your dominion. Now, live it.